Welcome to CIS 551 Project Management. My name is Dr. Schuessler, and I always like to, as a student, kind of know a little bit about my professor and what their interests were, what their background was, and stuff like that. Just so I kind of had an idea of where they were coming from when they're asking questions and things like that. So I'm going to start off talking a little bit about myself initially, and then we'll kind of step through the syllabus, the same kind of things that we would do beginning of the semester in a face-to-face class. So with that, as I said, my name is Dr. Schuessler. I grew up in Denton, Texas. It's just north of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I'm originally from Oklahoma. Apologize for that now. Uh, my dad's originally from Texas. My mom's originally from Oklahoma. So you can imagine what Texas OU weekends were like in the Schuessler household. Um, but as I said, I grew up there in Denton. My dad moved to Denton when I was about 6 months old to go to what was then North Texas State University to work on his doctorate. And I ended up going to elementary school there. Met my wife in junior high there, though I didn't know she was going to be my wife till just a few years ago. Went to high school, played soccer, was interested in architecture and stuff like that. Went to UT Arlington for 1 year as a civil engineer major, and decided that wasn't for me. So I ended up moving back to the University of North Texas, or back to Denton, and attended the University of North Texas, where I received 4 degrees: a BBA in strategic management, an MBA in business computer information systems, an MS in information technology, and a PhD in business computer information systems. I have 3 computer certifications: A plus, Network plus, and Security plus. And I'm interested in other computer certifications as well, particularly ones that are related to security. But the reality is, as an assistant professor here at Tarleton State, I just don't have the time to properly prepare. And so hopefully someday I'll be able to get back to that. As I said, I am an assistant professor here at Tarleton State. My first year out as a newly minted PhD was at Bloomsburg University for 1 year in a visiting position. I spent 1 year at Eastern New Mexico University in a tenure track position, but I had an opportunity to move back a little closer to home, and I jumped at it. I already knew one of the faculty members here, so it was a good fit for me. I've got some helpful sites there. My personal website's got some content that's related to classes that I teach, um, the research that I do, things of that nature. So take a look for that at that for anything that might be of use to you. There's my YouTube channel that I try to post videos to and things like that hopefully you can take advantage of. And then there's my Twitter feed that you can use to kind of keep in touch with me. Okay, so the syllabus itself. As you can tell, it's project management. It's an online class, so there is no meeting time or venue. My name, I'm an assistant professor. As far as email, I want you to, if it's course related, I want you to email me through our LMS Blackboard. It's a kind of a repository. We keep all our course related material right there. So I want those emails to go through Blackboard. If you need something that's outside of the scope of class, by all means, you can use my regular email address, schuessler@tarleton.edu. But if it's course related, I want it to go through Blackboard. My office number there, phone number, as well as the office room number is there. Honestly, I'm not in the office an awful lot, especially in the summertime, and the phone is just a horrible way to get a hold of me. So email is definitely the best way of doing it. Because it's a summer class, we don't have physical office hours. Our text is identified there: Information Technology Project Management Revised. It's the 6th edition. There is a newer edition coming out, and I'll be going to that one in the future. In fact, the slides that we're using are for the future edition. So it's very similar, but it is going to be changing. Course description straight out of the graduate catalog. Prerequisites, as long as you've got some kind of a background in information systems or business in general, you should be in good shape. Course goals, again, straight out of the master syllabus. One of the things I like to do in my syllabi is to provide information about the profession. So I've gone to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and pulled information about the work environment, the pay, the job outlook, and all that kind of stuff. So you can take a look at that there at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I provided the link there under similar occupations. If you happen to be a full-time student nearing graduation and you don't have a job right now, and that's what your attention is starting to focus to, I'd highly recommend that you contact Career Services. The director over there is Elena Hefner, and her contact information is right there. They can do a lot of things for you. They can help you to develop your resume. They can help you practice with mock interviews. They can even help you create a digital or online resume, which is essentially a process of videotaping you and recording that. And essentially, what will happen is they'll record you, they'll ask you a series of questions. And the cool thing about it is they'll edit that out to make it look as professional as possible. So they'll really work with you to make sure that it's a nice professional production, and you'll end up with a really nice quality, unique way of marketing yourself. As a CIS student, you have access to software through the Microsoft Academic Alliance. There's a lot of different software packages that are out there. Unfortunately, Microsoft Office is not one of them, but Microsoft Project is. So take advantage of that. Microsoft Project, Microsoft Visio. There's a lot of different packages that are out there. You'll be receiving an email at your go.tarleton account after the first week of class, after the add drop period. You'll receive that, and it'll have instructions on how to register and how to download that software. Course deliverables and exams. This is what students are always really interested in knowing. Basically, your grade's going to be a composite of your individual performance assessments, quizzes, assignments, participation, your component of a group semester project, and then exams. As far as the exams, there's two exams. There's a final and a comprehensive. There's a comprehensive final, and then there's a midterm, obviously in reverse order. And we'll talk about those a little bit more here in just a second. So assessments, quizzes. Chapter quizzes are designed to make sure you stay current. So in other words, they're not really designed to make sure you're mastering the subject matter. They're designed to keep you current, to make sure that you're reading and you're keeping up and you're not falling behind. Each quiz is worth 20 points. There's a total of 13 quizzes, including the quiz over the syllabus, quiz 0. Most of the time, students really hate these quizzes. They don't like them. They're timed at 5 minutes. So my recommendations to prepare for these quizzes is to read the chapter, review the PowerPoints, do the homework, check the discussion boards. If you have any questions, by all means ask, and then finally take the quiz. If you do that, you really should be in pretty good shape. Let's say you end up having a technology issue and your computer reboots in the middle of the quiz, or you forget, or there's a really big party or something like that. I dropped your lowest 2 quiz scores, so don't stress too much. If you do poorly on one, something like that, don't stress about it too much. I dropped your lowest 2 quiz scores. All the quizzes are available right now, so you feel free to work ahead. It's one way to avoid some of those issues. As far as assignments are also all posted in Blackboard right now. They're all available as of right now, and you're free to work ahead. In fact, I'd encourage you to do so. They too are worth these are worth varying points depending on the specific assignment that's due. Total value for assignments is 280 points. Assignment 0 is a little bit unique. It's a little bit different. If you've had me before, it's the same assignment that I always give. It's an information sheet, giving you a little bit of information about you. It's an honor code, and it's a digital photograph of yourself that needs to be submitted to me by Sunday, June 9th at 11:59 p.m. Stephenville time. I use this along with a pre-assessment test that we'll talk about here in just a second to help organize groups. And so we'll talk about that here in just a second. As far as the photos, I use those in my gradebook to kind of identify a name with a face, and it helps me to do a better job of keeping track of students that way. But it counts just like a homework, so a homework assignment, so be sure to submit that. As far as participation consists of taking both a pre and a post test. The pre-test, again, I use it to help me figure out where you are in terms of coming into the class. I use it to help me group people for the semester project, and I use it as a comparison against the post test to see how much you've learned over the course of the semester. Other participation opportunities, there's going to be various discussion questions each week. Those discussion questions may simply be a link to a survey that you have to come back and talk to us about. Maybe reviewing an academic article. It may be looking at the other group's work. which is something else that I've included new this semester that's different than prior semesters. So each week those discussion board posts will open up at 12:01 a.m. on Mondays. They'll close at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday evenings. So once they close, you no longer have access to them. So you have to be sure to do whatever it is during that particular week. As far as the semester project, there's a group semester project that's due at the end of the semester. As a group, you're going to analyze a large-scale project that's somehow IT related. It could be over a variety of different things, but you need to look at milestones and what was successful, what didn't work, what was the fate of the project, etc. It needs to be professionally formatted using APA style. I've given you links there to the writing center, so certainly take advantage of that, especially if English is not your first language. Again, as far as the exams, there's two exams. There's the midterm and the comprehensive final. The comprehensive final is over the whole semester, but the focus is really on stuff since the midterm. So that's where you're going to want to focus your efforts at that point. The table there you'll see is actually when you open the Word document, you'll find that it's actually an embedded Excel spreadsheet. And assuming my formulas are all correct, you can actually track your grades along throughout the semester and keep track of exactly where you are by entering your grades. Now, one word of caution, the total up there for your assessments, for your quiz scores, will not total until you get down to quiz 10. And the reason that is remember I'm dropping your two lowest quiz scores. So what I would recommend is filling in the rest of them with either your quiz average or zeros or something to that effect. And that way it'll allow your totals to sum up. Additionally, if you've had me before, something I'm doing a little bit different this semester, I've always had revisions that were due, but in the past they've never been graded. Unfortunately, participation's always been pretty low, as you can imagine. So this time, the very first submission is worth 25 points. That's really just let's make sure the groups are together, they're talking, and they're moving in the right direction. The topic that they picked is appropriate. The second revision is much more detailed. It should be much closer to being a finished product, though pretty rough still at that point. It's worth 75 points. And then the final project is worth a total of 200 points. So in total, the semester project is worth 300 points. As far as the midterm also is worth 300 points, and then the final exam is worth 400. And that should make the total, if everything adds up, 1,600 points. Of course, grading scales there at the bottom and top of this next page. Late assignments, I don't take them, so plan on working on the quizzes and assignments early. That's why all the dates, that's why everything's already published, so you can work on stuff early. There are no makeup exams. If you need to take the midterm exam for some reason early, get with me, we'll figure out something, but you cannot take it late. As far as the final exam, you're not allowed to take that one early unless you put in writing a request to take it early. I have no say-so on this. There's university policy that says it must be taken during the scheduled exam period. Therefore, what I have to do is take that request, submit it to my chair submits it to the dean. So as you can tell, it's kind of a long, drawn-out process, and oftentimes the answer is no. So just be aware of that. Student expectations, especially as grad students, there should be nothing surprising there. Check Blackboard once a day, use proper English. Click on this link, it's an interesting little video. Academic dishonesty or academic honesty, don't cheat. The whole thing goes there and tells you what you can and can't do. The formal policy is right there. Essentially, if you cheat, I can tar in front of you, so don't do it. Disability accommodations, I'm not qualified. I don't have the training to give you an accommodation. If you need extended time on the exam or something of that nature, you have to go through the Office of Disability Services. So contact them there at that number, and they can do an assessment, and they'll let me know, or they'll give you documentation to let me know what accommodations they recommend. I always follow the Office of Disabilities recommendation. Whatever they recommend is what I do. But I'm not qualified to make that recommendation or accommodation. This is the most important part of this syllabus. This is our schedule, and this is what I follow very closely, even though it's tentative and it can be moved around. Unless I've just made a really glaring mistake, I stick to this really, really closely. There's a few of these videos that no longer work. They've come down due to copyright issues, but other ones do work, so try and check them out. Did you know video, for example? Some of these are just funny, close to Flockler one, stuff like that. But take a look at those. Each week, these are the topics that we're going to cover. So in this first week, we're going to cover Chapter 1, Chapter 2. Next week, we're going to cover Chapter 3, Chapter 4. What's due each week? Stuff here on this right-hand column. Stuff is due at 11:59 each Sunday of the respective week, unless otherwise noted. So in this case, assessment, pretest, assignment 0, quiz 1, quiz 2, and discussion question 0 are all due at 11:59 on 6/9. So you can feel free to go ahead and knock those out whenever you get around to it, as long as before that date and time. You can start working ahead on a lot of this stuff too. So that should really kind of help explain the system that's in play. Important drop dates are noted down here. Hopefully you won't need that, just in case. Semester project. So the objectives. Collaboratively develop and demonstrate your understanding of project management concepts along with the managerial implications that such projects have. I want you to focus on IT projects, IT related in some fashion. I will create the teams based on your pre-tests and based on your information sheets. But I expect you guys to collaborate with each other. You can use the group areas that I create inside of Blackboard. You can use Google+. This is a CIS class. I expect you guys to be creative in figuring this out. Just whatever works best for you and your group. As far as the project itself, examples might include the construction of ENIAC, development of Apple Lisa or Macintosh computers, the Xerox Alto, the Colossus, which is a British computer constructed during World War II, either one or both of Babbage's machines. There's a lot of different examples that are out there, but I would like for you to do that. Obviously, you're going to be using a lot of Microsoft Project and a lot of Microsoft Word. What you'll submit is a Microsoft Word document. So if you have project content, you'll need to embed that into, well, you will have project content. You'll need to embed that into Microsoft Word document. It gets submitted to Turnitin.com, and Turnitin.com only sees PDFs and Word documents. To be able to give you feedback, I need it submitted as a Word document. So be sure and do that. The first revision should be much more detailed. It should be close to being completed at that point. I tend to give you a lot of feedback on that revision. The very first time you turn it in, I'm just basically checking to make sure you're headed in the right direction. Revision 1, I'm really giving you a lot of feedback because I want that last submission, revision 2, to be almost perfect. And so that's what I'm looking for there. So again, revision 2 almost is completed. Completed documentation from previous stages. You've addressed my concerns and stuff like that. You include your peer evaluation, which there's a submission thing under assignments for that, or actually under the semester project for that. You'll need to assess your peers. If you've had me in previous semesters, this is a little bit different than what I've done in the past. Basically, there's several criteria that you rate yourself and teammates from 1 to 5. If you score yourself or your teammates a 1 or a 5, you must include narrative explaining why you rated them that way on that criteria. I try to provide that feedback anonymously to that student so that they can become better or understand that they did really well in that particular area. At the same time, I don't want you to avoid scoring them as a 1 or a 5 either. I want you to be honest with your assessment because it directly impacts their grade. So keep that in mind. There's also a presentation that you'll end up doing. Most of the time you're going to do that in PowerPoint. You'll record the narrative just like you would be doing if you were presenting it in class. And you'll set the slides to auto advance. There are other ways to do this. If you want to record it in YouTube, for example, and create a presentation somehow that way, you're welcome to do so. Just be sure and get with me first, and let's make sure that whatever it is that you have in mind will actually qualify for this portion of your grade. Then I kind of give you a little bit of an outline to what I'm expecting down there at the bottom. 15 to 20 pages of actual content that doesn't include the cover page, tables, etc. And then kind of a little shell of a paper, if you will. Teams will have a contract. In other words, I expect you guys to work kind of like a team of consultants. So there needs to be an organizational structure to your team, and I want you and your teammates to have some sort of a team contract. Keep track of what's going on. Keep track of when you meet, how often you meet, who's doing what assignments. This is a great opportunity to use Microsoft Project for this. Okay, let's see. That's kind of the end of that contract. How am I going to grade your project? I've got a grading rubric. There's the rubric right there. This is how you're going to be scored. So be sure and read through that when you're completing it. Make sure you addressed all of these issues in your final report. And that's the end of the rubric there. Something else that we've introduced new this semester is a week policy. And this is an attempt to try to improve the writing of the college, writing skills of our students. So be sure to take a look at this. Essentially what it is an effort in this department and really even at the college level to improve our writing by basically saying if there are too many errors on a single page or too many errors throughout, grading will stop. And you'll be given an opportunity to improve that document until the point at which you no longer have that opportunity and you simply don't receive a grade anymore. So be sure to read through that. You can see some of those criteria and you can see the codes that you will use to record these types of issues in your papers. Again, if English is not your first language, take advantage of the Writing Center and the assets that they can provide over there. And that's the rest of the week policy. So that is it for myself as far as introductions and the syllabus. Really, I think the schedule is the most important part of the syllabus. Be sure and look at that closely. I'd probably print it out and keep it with me just to kind of keep track of things, keep track of what's going on. But if there's any questions, by all means, shoot me an email. Let me know what's going on. And I'm really looking forward to this semester. So take care.